Good morning, good afternoon, guys. I hope you're having a good day so far. Today, we're going to go ahead and look into it's still part of assignment 13, but it's the second part of 13, which is solving quadratics by completing the square. Yesterday, we looked at the what's it called? The square root property, but today we're actually going to see the steps of what it means to complete the square. Okay. And I apologize, my dishwasher is going off in the background. I can hear it here, but I hope it doesn't come out on the video. If it sounds weird, just let me know and I'll make a new video. So this is the same, it is not the same objective as yesterday, even though it's still the same assignment number. So I do want you to write this down on the next sheet in your notebook. We're going to solve quadratics by completing the square. We will define the steps to solve by completing the square. The question you should be asking yourself is, what does completing the square actually mean? Well, we're going to define the steps to complete the square, and then you all will write the steps to complete the square in your notebook. Yeah, I said complete the square a lot. What are the actual steps? Well, the first thing we need to understand is we have to start with something like the general equation, or what we call the standard form. So that's when it looks like this: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And here's the steps. I typed them in. I do want you to copy them down. I am going to give you the class period to get these notes in your notebook. So I know it might take you a while to write all of these down, but it is important that you have the steps in your notebook so that when we go over practice problems on Monday, you have these steps to follow. So the first step, if a equals 1, so if the coefficient of 1 of a, if this coefficient is equal to 1, then you're going to go to step 2. If a is not equal to 1, if it's any other number other than 1, then we divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient. You'll see what these steps look like when we do the practice. Step 2 is to isolate the variable by moving c. So isolate the variable by moving c means whatever number is here, if there's any constants, we've got to bring them over to the other side. Let me see if I can do this. So like step 1 is related to whatever coefficient is here. Step 2 is related to this number, the constants that need to come out to the other side. This is an arrow, and I'm getting really bad at drawing arrows. I have not been drawing good arrows lately, so I do apologize. Let me try again. Okay. We're going to move whatever variable is here to the other side. And then we're going to complete the square. This is actually what the completing the square is. I mean, all these steps together completing the square, but this is the important part. We substitute whatever b is. We take that number, divide it by 2, and then we square that, and we put it right here where c was. Okay, so the number that we just moved, we're kind of going to leave a space, and then we're going to write this number in there. Then we're going to factor the new trinomial like we've learned in the beginning of this 9 weeks, and then we're going to use the square root property, which we learned yesterday. Let's see what all of this looks like together in an actual problem. Let's see if I can do it small enough that we can fit in the screen, but big enough that you can still see everything. So step 1, first we're going to do case 1 where a is equal to 0, and then we'll do another one where a is not equal to 0. So we're going to look at the coefficient here. Not the right color. I want a blue A. Okay. The coefficient of A, let's do this. Good. Here. A, okay. In this case, A is equal to 0. Remember, there's an invisible 1 here. We just don't write it in. So now we're going to be on step 2, which is we take this coefficient, this constant, and bring it to the other side. Those cancel. I'm going to have x squared plus 6x. I'm going to leave a space there, and 0 minus 2 is negative 2. In this space, and now I'm on step number 3, I'm going to take this 6. Let me see if I can zoom in some more. I'm going to go in a little bit bigger. Okay, I've been writing kind of small here. Ooh, no, that's too much. Six divided by 2 squared. So I take b, I take half of b and square it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So here I write 9. Okay. Six divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. That's where that 9 came from. It's a positive. Now I'm going to factor this new trinomial, this x squared plus 6x plus 9. And that's what we learned in the beginning of the year where we did parentheses. So quantity times quantity, and don't forget we have this negative 2 over here. We've got our x's, and then we've got a quantities of what are the factors of 9 such that the product is 9, but the sum is 6. So we can say that that's going to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. Now, because these are identical, because these are the same, I can write this as x plus 3 quantity squared equals negative 2. Now, I have to remember something. Back in this step, I forgot something. If I just add a 9 here, I can never do something to one side of the equal without doing the same to the other. So I have to add whatever I added here in this spot, I have to add to the other side. Okay, so whatever answer I get here, I also have to put it here. It's got to go in both. So I got to add that 9. Negative 2 plus 9. Let me just write this out. X plus 3. Why did I write a 2 there? That's a 2. Quantity squared equals negative 2 plus 9 is positive 7. Okay. Now, because this quantity is squared on the left, and I've only got one number on the right, I can actually use the property rule. Okay. I'm almost done. I can use the square root rule, the square root property. It looks like I'm going to read. We can use the square root property. There you go, property, right here. So that means that I'm going to have x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 7. Bring this to the other side. X equals plus minus square root of 7 minus 3. There's no more simplification I can do to that square root of 7, so I'm going to have two answers. X equals plus square root of 7 minus 3, and x equals negative square root of 7 minus 3. And those are my two answers. Okay, I know it's a lot of steps. I know there's some confusion. We will go over practice problems so you can practice these steps multiple times. And I will be in class to help you, obviously. And Coach Taylor should be around to help you guys out as well. So we will today just copy down the notes, copy down the steps, make sure you understand the steps. And if you get stuck or it doesn't make sense, please let me know so we can go over it. Case number 2 is when a is not equal to 0. So look, this a, it's not equal to 0. So we have to do what it's like. Go back to see what it said. It said if a is not, do I have purple? If a is not equal to 1, divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient. Okay. So in this case, a is not 1, it's 3. So we're going to divide every term by 3. Simplify that. Those just cancel out. You're going to have y squared plus 6 divided by 3 is 2y minus 4/3. 0 divided by anything is 0. Now we're at a point that we can start with step number 2, which is remember, isolate the variable. Okay, I just moved this 4/3 to the other side. Step 3 is two divided by 2, quantity squared. 2 divided by 2 is 1, times 2 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, quantity squared is still 1. If I do it to the left, I have to do it to the right. Next step is I'm going to just simplify this a little bit. Y squared plus 2y plus 1. 4/3 plus 1 is going to be, let me see, 1 and 4/3. That's 1 and a third. That's like saying 2, it's going to be 2 and 2/3. Okay? Or we could say, oh no, wait, 2 and a third. 4/3 is like 3/3, which is 1, and there's 1/3 left. Yeah, so it's 2 and 1/3 or 7/3. Okay, so I'm going to write 7/3. Now, now we're going to factor the left side. We've got y plus 1 plus 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. This is a y. Sorry, my y's look so bad. We're going to rewrite it as the binomial quantity squared equals 7/3. So I'm just taking these two things, and instead of writing two things, I'm writing one thing, which is y plus 1 squared. Let me make the y's the same so they look the same. Okay, now I use the square root property. Plus or minus the square root of 7/3. Even if I use the quotient property, there's no simplification that I can do with 7 divided by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that. If I had left it as 2 1/3, I wouldn't be able to do anything either. So I'm going to simplify a little bit, and I'm going to say bring this -1, bring that -1. My two answers are going to be y equals positive 7 divided by 3 minus 1. And my other answer is negative 7 divided by 3 minus 1. Okay. I know it's a lot of steps, but if we had tried to solve this only by factoring, we never would have found the factors originally from the equation because they're not common factors, they're not whole numbers. They would have been weird fractions and decimals, and we never would have been able to calculate it by hand. But when we use the property, the rule of property, we'll get this. And if you put this into a calculator, you'll get a nice little decimal number or a nice little fraction number. Okay, and we'll start seeing what those solutions look like when we do graphing next week. Okay, so I know today was a little bit longer video than we're normally used to, but I am going to give you the whole class period to write down all these notes and write down each step by step. If it's something you didn't understand, just pause the video and write down your notebook so you can ask questions and make sure you're clear on these steps. Okay. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thank you.